Hello everyone, welcome back to the another session in Principles of Programming Languages. Basically we were talking about second unit and we have completed 5 first data types from the basic data types of PPL. Today we are going to look at associative array types, and this topic you will find in 6th topic of second unit. Now let's get started. So before we know about what kind of associative arrays are being supported concerned to programming languages, first we have to know about what is an associative array. So basically I have to differentiate the array and associative array. Array is what we come to know in the previous video, that it is a collection of similar data elements with a common name tag. Today I am going to introduce the associative array. It is collection of dissimilar data elements. So when I say about associative array, people who have knowledge about C and C++, they can think about structures, correct? Yes, your guess is right. I am talking about structures, but the structures are not same as in other programming languages. So basically it is given with the title of associative array. Now, so let's see associative array common definition concerned to the major programming languages. An associative array is an unordered collection of data elements that are indexed by an equal number of values called keys. So this thing you can even say with your hashes. Now, in the case of non-associative arrays, the indices never need to be stored because of their regularity. In an associative array, however, the user-defined keys must be stored in the structure. So each element of an associative array is in fact a pair of entities, and the pair of entities are key and a value. So this is what associative array is. Now we'll be going to see about different programming languages, which languages will support associative arrays and how that the syntax can be written in respective to programming languages. Now we'll see about that. I'll introduce the first programming language, which is Perl. So Perl is the programming language which uses associative arrays in different way than the other. So there are couple of languages which will support associative array to store the data, and those associative arrays are supported directly by Python, Ruby and Lu. This is what a new programming language you are hearing for first time. Now we'll discuss even about this language in this video. So this language name is what? Lua, and by the standard class libraries of Java, C++, C# and F#. Now these are the programming languages, whatever I am marking here, these 3 languages will directly support associative arrays. When I say directly supports, that doesn't need any library functions to perform the operations on these data types. And these are the languages which it takes with the library support. So that's what the difference in between that set of the languages and this set of the languages. So here we have only one design issue to look forward. The design issue is what? Specific for associative arrays is in the form of references to their elements. We'll be going to concentrate on how these languages will support associative arrays respect to the reference of elements. So I told you in the beginning slide that we'll be going to store associative arrays, as you are already aware of hash tables. Now this is what the data structure. We'll keep the data inside of this with 2 entities. The one is keys and the other one is values. So in other sense you can say that's something that will take different collection of data structure, and this is what the variables and these are what the values. So all these are what unordered elements, correct? Now so let's see about the next programming language, which is Perl. So Perl is the programming language. When you ask me to talk about structures, I can introduce you Perl programming language, because the data structure passion of storing associative arrays, Perl is a different one. if you compare with other languages. I told you in the previous slide there are a couple of languages what I have shown you: Python, Ruby and Lua, Java, C#, C++. These languages will not have the data structure usage as same as in the Perl. Perl takes hash table in different way. That different way I will teach you with this slide. We use Perl's design of associative arrays to illustrate this data structure. In Perl, associative arrays are called hashes because in the implementation their elements are stored and retrieved with hash functions. How it is a different one? In what parameter wise it is different one? The way you are writing the data structure, associative array data structure in the Perl is different because we will use these notations. We will use percentile. If you remembered, we spoke about arrays in the last video. Concerned to Perl, array is defined with symbol, correct? And array of element, the particular indices in Perl represents with $symbol. It is from array. Associative array also will get represented with percentile. When you find a variable preceded with symbol, we have to understand it is an array. When you find a variable preceded with percentile, you have to understand it is associative array. Concerned to Perl, that's what Perl is a different way of programming language to support these kind of data types. Now, here we'll be having a variable, here we'll be having a variable. Let's suppose that I'm writing array. Now it is only an array which have collection of similar data elements. If I write percentile array, then it is an associative array which will have unordered pair of elements. That's the difference. Now, the second point is every hash element consists of two parts, as we discussed in the first slide, that it will consist of key and it will consist of value. And this value what you are giving inside of the data structure can be number, it can be a string, or it can be a reference to the variable. And the third point, hashes can be set to literal values with assignment statements. Now I'll show you with an example to understand in detail about the Perl usage. Now let's look into this example. So I told you just now that a variable will get preceded with what? Percentile. Then you have to understand that the syntax is written in Perl in order to use associative arrays. Percentile salaries is equal to, and this is what it is, key, and this is what it is, value, and this value can be a number, that value can be a string, value can be a reference, it can be of anything. Now it is what your key value. So this is what assignment operator in Perl. So this is a data structure which represents particular keys and the associated values, and individual element values are referenced using notation is similar to the used for Perl arrays. What the symbol we'll use for Perl arrays? Particular element $, correct? Somewhere I mentioned, yes, here it is, $. We'll use a reference of $, to refer a single index element. Now let's see that also, how to write the syntax in Perl to represent a single element. Now if I wanted to take only one access out of those 3 or 4 names what I have mentioned in the previous example, now if I wanted to note only a particular index, then I have to use this $ symbol. $ always to represent one index, a particular element. If it is an associative array, we'll use $. If it is an array, we'll use $. So $ represents that we are accessing a single element from the data structure. Now salaries, Perry is what? Key value. And 588850 is what? It's a value, associated value which is given for this key. And if a new element is added using the same assignment statement form, an element can be removed. If you wanted to delete an element, we'll use this kind of notation in Perl. And if you wanted to, the entire hash can be emptied, then we'll use this notation. Yes, there are three different notations what you have to understand when you talk about Perl. Let's talk about the next programming language, which looks it is different than the other one. So here it is also given some study that how conditions will get checked in Perl, how conditions will write. If I wanted to find whether the particular key value is presented in the data structure, then half the way I have to write the syntax. For that is the reason this syntax will get help. So if exist, what it exists, the key element for what you are searching for, if it is exist, then we'll write this kind of syntax. What the syntax is? If exist, whatever particular data element you wanted to check, that element you can write. So I wanted to know whether Shelly is existed in the data structure or not. Then I am using a notation. If exist is a keyword, $salaries is what? I am again referencing to the single element. So when I am referring to the single element, I have to write the syntax of dollar symbol. Now, Python associative arrays, which are called dictionaries. Perl will use as your associative arrays, and I told it is hashes. Python associative arrays called as dictionaries. C-based language associative arrays are called as structures. Are similar to those of Perl, except the values are all reference to objects. The associative arrays supported by Ruby are similar to those of Python. So in Ruby, in Python, associative arrays are called with the name of dictionaries. PHP arrays are both normal arrays and associative arrays. So PHP will be using arrays, associative arrays with a common syntax structure. And so let's see about the next one, which is Lua. So I told about this is a new programming language. We did not heard about this language in the previous lectures. So Lua is a new programming language where it supports associative arrays. How it supports is, it supports with a table type. It supports with a table type. In Lua, the table type is the only data structure. A Lua table is an associative array in which both the keys and the values can be any type. So here we'll use table type. So you may see some, yes, now look at this. So the moment when I give these kind of notations, it automatically creates, the interpreter of Lua will create a table to store all the information what I am using in the program. And the other programming language also we have, C# and F# support associative arrays through .NET classes. A table can be used as a traditional array, an associative array, or a record structure. So the table of Lua as similar as the structures of your C-based language. So in C-based, we'll use structure to define, right? We'll write some structure name, and you'll write some members of the structure, and you'll write some variable of the structure. If you wanted to access these members, we'll pass the values through dot operator. So this is what the simple notation to use your hashes or your data structure, which will collectively unordered set of elements in C-based languages. In other languages, we'll use the same kind of associative arrays, storing of different set of elements together indifferently, as we were explained in the video, right? Thank you all.